whoever it is that you want to be, no matter how many times you may have failed at attempting to become that person leading up to this point, you can still become that person. You're going to decide who that is, whether it's a category like warrior or whether it's a specific person that you want to emulate. You're going to break their world down into do's and don'ts, how they would react to certain situations. You're going to hold that ideal in your mind, and you're going to force yourself to act in accordance. You are going to tell people what you're up to. And if you really have some balls, you're going to tell people that want you to fail. Because that, believe it or not, that's who's going to come to your rescue in your darkest hours of wanting to give up. It's going to be remembering that out there is someone who's laughing at you, who wants you to fail, that's talking behind your back about how you're never going to achieve it, and then imagine how rad it will be when you actually do achieve it. There is the darkness and the light, my friends, and you have to play in both. You've got to know 80% of your time in the light. Focus on the beautiful things you want to create and what you want to do with your life and all of that. There's 20%, some straight Darth Vader shit. Like, you've really got to lean into that. There is real power in anger, frustration, in not wanting somebody to get one over on you, on winning against all odds, all of that stuff. It is really powerful. And this is one of those things that I find a lot of times people are willing to lean on one tactic, but not the other. Set aside all your judgments about the tactics. The human animal is designed a certain way. Anger exists for a reason. Pressure exists for a reason.
Need motivation? Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tom Bilyeu, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, focus on fulfillment.
A few things. One, happiness, which is incredibly transitory, is probably not the right thing to focus on. The right thing to focus on, in my humble opinion, is fulfillment. And fulfillment has a formula which is about working really hard to gain a set of skills that allow you to achieve a goal that is both honorable and exciting. So you have to be hyped up about it, and it needs to serve not only yourself, but other people. Now, that's a far more robust, resilient neurochemical state to pursue, and I should have said pursue a goal rather than attain it, because you may never attain it. But the pursuit of it ought to be the part that is leading you to fulfillment. So you're working really hard to gain a set of skills that allow you to serve not only yourself, but other people. Okay, so if we know that that's what we want to pursue, then the question becomes, how do we know that we're fulfilled? How do we know that we're happy? How do we know that we're sad? How do we know that we're anything? And the answer to that question is really self-awareness. And I mean literally being aware of self. So understanding that emotions spring forth from the body. They are not a top-down phenomenon. The interpretation of the emotion is a top-down phenomenon. But as Lisa Feldman Barrett details in her book, How Emotions Are Made, it's really a fascinating conversation is probably the right way to think about it, between your body and your mind. And so your body is giving you these feelings, which are in part due to values that you hold, beliefs that you have, historical experience, your genetic composition. And then based on that context, you literally feel a certain way. And then your higher level cognition tries to paint a story on top of that emotion, explaining why you feel it. But the reality is it's being kicked up by your body, and whatever story you're telling yourself may or may not be accurate. But we believe the story all the time, and this is how people end up in these negative spirals. But you have to learn to interpret those signals from your body. That's the important part about assessing where you're at on an emotional playing field, is you really have to get good at interpreting those emotions.
Rule number 3, be prepared.
What I find is the thing that people are always, if somebody's going to compliment me, the thing that they're going to compliment me on is, Tom, you always seem so prepared for your interviews. And my thing is like, the only way to win in life is to be more prepared than everybody else. If you want to win a gold medal in the Olympics, you actually have to be better at that sport than any other human being on planet Earth. That's business. Here's another one. This drives me nuts. People will say, Tom, because I always tell people you have to work hard, smart, and long hours. And the inevitable question that I get is, Tom, if I work hard and smart, why do I need to work long hours? Because you're going against me, and I'm willing to do all three. So now what? There's no arbiter other than being better, right? If your game is to be stronger, you better be able to lift more weight. If your product solves XYZ problem, it better actually solve it, and better than anything else. So the presentation is, hey, look guys, I'm a nervous wreck. I hate giving presentations. But the one thing that I know about my product, it will outperform. And I invite you now to put me in whatever circumstance you need to, and I'm going to show you that it outperforms. This is why, trust me, if Albert would let me, I would stay here on this stage and answer every single question. I would let people push me and say, no, but Tom, you haven't solved my problem. I will keep going until we solve your problem. Now, I don't mind doing that because it's first principles thinking. It applies to everything. I know my product is better. So I will just stand here and do this moment after moment after moment. When you get as confident in your product as I am in my ability to solve business problems, presenting will be very easy.
Rule number 4, love the process.
When you were making your transition into being successful, how did you combat the frustration of not being where you wanted to be? I'm never where I want to be. So I'm not where I want to be now. I'm not where I wanted to be when, people would have looked at it and said, oh my God, this is like the height of success. It was, one, I'm very careful to make sure that I'm only invested in the process. But because I'm trying to get somewhere, that intentionally I'm throwing way beyond where I'm at. I'm always thinking about what it's going to take to get to that next level. I'm never where I quote unquote want to be, but I don't trick myself into tying my value to achieving it. So I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm in it for the process. I'm in it for the learning. And I make sure that I'm handcrafting my life to optimize for joy and fulfillment. And so knowing that, I cannot guarantee the success. I cannot guarantee ever that anyone is ever going to be successful. But I can guarantee that you're going to struggle. Guarantee. 100%. Nobody avoids it. That's it. Everybody that ever tries to do anything, and even most of the people that don't try to do anything, are going to struggle profoundly with moving forward. It's just hard like that. And so if you know that the struggle is guaranteed, then you can't allow yourself to waste time to be tormented by the fact that you're not where you want to be. Make sure you're having fun in the struggle. Figuring out how to struggle well, that's the answer. When I was coming up, the question I was told to ask myself was, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? And what I realized is, since failure is the most obvious answer, that's probably not the right question to ask. The right question to ask is, what would I do and love every day, even if I were failing? Now, failure is never going to be as fun as winning. I know that. But if you can do something that you believe in enough, and that the act of trying to get good at it is fun in and of itself, now you're on the right path. That's where you want to focus. Put your time and energy into making sure that you love the process. Don't worry about the outcome. You worry about the process, getting better, and loving that. Everything else will take care of itself.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, learn from your mistakes.
We're leading people into the unknown. We're leading them into whether it's business danger or emotional danger. And at the end of the day, sometimes people are going to get hurt, they're going to fail, whatever. They have to be resilient, they have to learn. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to be the human equivalent of a battle axe and get in there, try things, hard things, fail, practice, get stronger, learn, grow, then over time, despite the scars, you are more capable. Capable. You can do things other people can't do. I'm obsessed with that idea. I want to be able to do things other people cannot do. Now, when you can do things that other people cannot do, now you've got a real shot at whatever it is that you're trying to do. I want my name to echo through the annals of history. Now, I don't need other people to want that, but I want that. And I know for me to actually pull that off, which by the way, my identity is not tied up in that, my self-esteem is not tied up in that, I could die completely unknown. What I value myself for is the pursuit, but I sincerely pursue that. And to sincerely pursue that, I have to become capable of things other people are not capable of. I have to be so good that I cannot be denied. That's my obsession. I love that. I want that for you guys, to both be willing to play at that level every day and yet not judge yourself if you're not there yet. That you only judge yourself by the sincere pursuit of something. That you show up every day playing to win, trying to be the best in the world at something that you care about, being unafraid to lead, to be out front, to fail people sometimes, to own it, to say, hey, I failed you. And this is why. And this is what I'm going to do next time to get a different result. And you will be shocked at how people will follow you more when you just own it. When you tell them what your plan is to get better and they see you on the front lines improving, people will fall in line. I f up all the time. But on balance, people see the rate at which I improve. They see that I have a goal and I'm a servant to that goal. And that I build skills based on what will take me to that goal. And because I win on balance more than I lose, people still follow.
Rule number 6, delay gratification.
What are some action steps I can take right away to train my mind to not go after easy pleasures and happiness and instead seek the gratification that comes from fulfillment? All right. The great news is all you have to do is recognize the truth of the human condition. And the truth of the human condition is that chasing momentary happiness won't fulfill you. That's literally what I wanted to say. And I'm not, because we're talking about fulfillment, I won't use a just recursive loop, but that really is true. All of that stuff is so transient. What makes fulfillment interesting is that it is this far more stabilizing neurochemical state. So your brain is constantly checking in with you, making sure on a subconscious level that you're doing the things that you need to do to be of service to the group, to be of service to yourself, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your family and your loved ones and your tribe, okay? So there's this subconscious record keeping going on, and that's exactly what's happening. That's why you sometimes will feel the unease in your body before consciously you know what's going on, and you feel it, there's something off. You need to take the time to identify what it is to be able to articulate it in a single, nice, crispy sentence so you can figure out exactly what it is that you need to do to move forward. Okay, now once you understand that that is just the nature of the game, that going after these momentary things will be exactly that. It's going to be momentary. It's going to fade. You're going to have a sense of unease. You're not going to be in the shape that you want emotionally. Once I know, going down that road is not going to leave me in the emotional state that I want to be in, then it's very easy to go, well, this one might be a little bit more difficult. It might take more sustained effort, but it yields these tremendous results. So the example that I always give is eating junk food. I love junk food. And truly love it, by the way. It gives me a drug-like high. It is so fun to eat sugary foods. The problem is that, especially as I get older, it hurts, literally, after the fact. My joints will hurt. I won't sleep as well. I wake up the next day, and it's just like I have like a slight hangover. That's literally what it feels like. And because I know that that's the outcome, it's like, well, on the times where I don't mind, and it's like, well, I'm gonna, enjoy this drug-like thing for a minute. I'll sort of walk a fine line, have some fun here, suffer a little tomorrow, but on balance, maybe I come out a little bit ahead on the happiness. But if I try to do it 2 days in a row, forget it, 3 days in a row, it really starts to be like a real problem. So even over the holidays now, when I let myself off of, the hook with all of my normal disciplines and all of that, even then now I keep myself in check just because I don't like the way that it feels. So once you understand, oh, I can do this thing over here and feel really good, or I can do this thing over here, it's very momentary, it's very transient, it doesn't last, I kind of, I'm not where I want to be, and I begin to ask myself questions like, what am I doing with my life? So just knowing that, to me, fulfillment is much longer in duration. It's much more resilient. I can be fulfilled even when things are hard, even when things aren't going my way, even when it's difficult. In fact, the fulfillment I get from contributing to the group is the very thing that inoculates me from the hard times being able to knock me all the way down. Because on those moments where you're just beleaguered and you're getting it from all sides and it just seems like everything is crashing on you at once, in those moments, you're going to cling to what you're doing to help other people. And nature will ensure that that is going to make you feel way, way better.
Rule number 7, start improving daily.
You've got to instill in your mind that the average human is capable of unbelievable improvement. That's the thing that's my superpower. I don't think I'm special. I just realized in looking at the science that humans actually are capable of this incredible amount of change. It is the strategy that our species took to be able to pass knowledge on through culture rather than having to have everything be instincts. And in having that layer where we can drink in the culture and read books and learn from other people, and even now we're all learning from things that people thought thousands of years ago and wrote down, like, it's insane. It travels through to you, and all of that wisdom stored in culture, so that as your parents are teaching you things, they're actually encapsulating a ton of the wisdom that is endured, whether it's endured from religion or books or whatever. Like, you're bathed in a culture that is giving you all of this incredible information. And so recognizing how powerful and potent that is incredibly meaningful. But you have to understand that you have to allow yourself to believe that you can learn from that culture in the same way that everybody else can. And that's what you're designed to do. Now, for me, that completely gave me the confidence, and I put confidence in air quotes because it's not like I believe something specific about myself. I just believed that the human animal is capable of this extraordinary change. And so now I just needed to point myself in that direction. Now, this is the key. Once I realized that I could get better at anything, it dawned on me that how I spend my time is a spiritual consideration. And I didn't want to die with potential that I failed to turn into skill set. That, to me, that speaks to me. How much of my potential can I actually turn into skill set and get good at this stuff and push and grow and improve? Like, that to me is just this incredibly intoxicating loop. So for me, the discipline, the confidence, all of that comes from recognizing the human animal. Nothing special about me. The human animal is capable of extraordinary change. I'm going to have to put time and energy into doing it, but I'm capable of getting this change. Therefore, I can do anything I set my mind to. Therefore, it really matters what I choose to spend my time on. Therefore, I want to put structure and discipline in my life so that I can move forward on things that excite me, that matter to me, because I really can have this big, crazy dream that I'm thinking of. So my discipline is really born of my desire to have that thing, coupled with my belief that I can actually get there. Desire and belief. Get those two things right, and the discipline will take care of itself.
Rule number 8, increase your desire.
A big thing that you can do in terms of figuring out how to take control of your path and steer yourself towards your goals is getting really good at goal setting, making sure that you use the process of building desire to figure out how to increase your desire for something, because steering yourself towards your goals is really about wanting something so badly that you're willing to try over and over and over again in order to make progress. Because the reality is, as Winston Churchill said, success is the ability to go from failure to failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm. Now, that requires that you really want something, that you're able to read yourself to know if you want that thing badly enough that you're going to stick with it, because if you don't, one of two things is true. Thing number one, either you've chosen the wrong thing, but a lot of people use that excuse over and over and over. As Angela Duckworth says in her book, Grit, if you find yourself doing that 3 times or more, odds are you have a grit problem, you have a tenacity problem, you're not sticking with it, you're not pushing through the boredom and the pain, which are inevitable if you want to get good enough to be extraordinary at something. So we need to set these goals that meet 2 criteria. They are exciting to you, you want them very badly, you've invested time and energy into wanting that thing. And it needs to be based on something real. It's very hard to turn an ember into a raging inferno when there was no real ember there to begin with. So it needs to be something that is legitimately interesting to you, and then you're going to fan those flames and really build emotional importance and emotional resonance around this thing. Then the second part of any goal, it should be honorable, meaning that pursuing it is going to allow you to serve not only yourself, but other people. Now, the great news is that because we are a social creature, the more that you do that, the more that you're pursuing something that allows you to elevate yourself, yes, but other people, most importantly. Now, Mother Nature has just put a reward into your brain. When you do that, I promise you will feel better. I promise it is just the way that we're wired. When you serve other people, you will feel better. Serve other people and you will feel better. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be Mother Teresa and that you can't be doing things for yourself. Again, the goal should be exciting and honorable. But once you're doing something that you really care about and you are acquiring a set of skills that matter to you, that you just want to get good at, but they are very much on purpose, allowing you to help other people, now all of a sudden you get in this feedback loop of the more you engage, the harder you work, the more skill set you get, this really becomes a passion. Because a part of passion, in fact, I don't believe something becomes a passion unless it's reciprocated by the people that you serve. And so when you're doing something that really allows you to light other people on fire, and look, that could be building toy models in your house. But if nobody ever gets to enjoy those toy models, the odds of that really becoming this self-reinforcing behavior are very slim. We all want to create something that we share with somebody else and it gets appreciated by them. It brings a smile to their face. And it could be that simple. Maybe what you create just makes other people happy. But in doing that, you connect to other people. You're elevating other people. You're engaging. You're being a social creature. You're contributing to the group. And in contributing to the group, now it can become a passion because you're getting the feedback that you need to go back and do all the boring, painful stuff that true mastery requires. And if you want to achieve your goals, mastery and desire are going to be the 2 most critical components next to clarity.
Rule number 9, remember your goal.
I think all of us have a desire to be looked at favorably, especially by the people that we care about, that we respect. But you have to, like Viktor Frankl said, understand that there's a gap between stimulus and response. And in that gap, you have the ability to choose something as a way of reacting that isn't your emotions dictating that. So you're gonna have an emotional reaction. When you do something and people disapprove, almost certainly happens for me, you're going to feel that sting of like, oh, that sucks. I really wanted people to be behind me. I really want people to cheer. I really want people to clap for me. That's amazing. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to say, what is my goal and what reaction to this stimulus actually moves me towards my goal? And that needs to be the thing that overrides everything else. So step 1 is having that clear goal, knowing what you're trying to accomplish. And then step 2 is the ability to assess whether or not your emotion, that which is the subconscious speaking to your conscious mind. So if you think of emotions as the subconscious, which processes data in a faster and vaster, as they say, fashion, meaning it can process a whole lot of information that your conscious mind would not be able to process through rapidly, and it can do it much more quickly. So it coughs up, instead of speaking in the language of that little voice you actually hear articulating words in your head, it's coughing up an emotion. So it's all of that experience, all of the things that our brain does to make sure that we protect ourselves, that we don't get ostracized by the group, which makes sense in the evolutionary context, but not so much in a modern context. That's why the subconscious is speaking in emotion. But you can take that emotion and say, hey, this doesn't make sense for my goal, feeling badly about myself, worrying about what other people think about me. It's only going to slow me down. It's only going to hold me back. I need to be able to trust my instincts, which I have trained, and now move towards what my goals demand. And so when you're able to do that, when you're able to read the emotion, check to see if there's a lesson to be learned. But if there's in wallowing in that emotion, if it's going to move you away from your goals, then you set that to the side. And practicing that and getting good at that and filtering everything to your goal is how ultimately you're not going to spend a lot of time caring about what other people think. And so the savior for me has been the belief and the part of my identity which says I only do and believe that which moves me towards my goals. So obsessing over negative thoughts about what other people think doesn't, and so I just let it go and move on. And it literally comes down to what you allow yourself to think about. So just stop yourself using cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, stop yourself from thinking about what other people think.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is overcome chaos.
Chaos can be very difficult to deal with, and it requires a lot of emotional management, and you've got to be able to do many things, quite frankly. It is going to be a whole grab bag of tricks, my friends, for you to get through and get on the other side of that chaos. All right, first things first, meditation is going to be huge, okay? Just at a physiological level, you've got to get that background radiation down to zero. Now, this can be very difficult when you're in the middle of something and you really feel like you're fighting for your life, but you need to make time for that. This is a physiological process. By getting into that calm and creative state, you're going to find answers that you otherwise wouldn't see. So we need to get out of that panic mode and into calm, creative problem solving. Now, remember, action cures all. So we've got this fulfillment thing that we're chasing. We've got the fulfillment formula. We know exactly what we need to do. We're in the middle of the chaos. And the thing that's going to solve for that, meditation, so we're thinking calmly and clearly, but also having a plan of attack and then going after it. So there's been really cool studies done by Andrew Huberman and other people about how lateral eye movement can actually pull you out of that stressed and anxious state, because what it's doing is it's mimicking you moving forward. And moving forward on these evolutionary time frames, we've been rewarded for that because it means that you're confronting your problem. You're working hard. You're dealing with the saber-toothed tiger, the warring tribe, the just need to go out and hunt, whatever. You're dealing with it. And since nature only has pleasure and pain, if you're dealing with it, nature's going to make sure to give you some pleasure on that. And conversely, if you're trying to hide from it, that's not going to feel great, and you're going to really spiral. It is crazy to me how taking action and getting into problem-solving mode immediately shifts me out of anxiety. It is absolutely profound. So that's going to be a big part of this. And when you're doing that in the context of the fulfillment formula, now you know that this is going to be something you're working really hard to gain that set of skills that serve not only yourself but other people. So you're thinking about other people. You're thinking about service. And that has a way of really helping you get through the chaos because it's giving you the emotional energy to have the stamina to fight through to get to the other side. And as I think it was Churchill that said, if you're going through hell, keep going. But keep going armed with meaning and purpose around how you're contributing to the group, around getting these skills, around being in problem-solving mode, and around taking action, because that is going to be the thing that cures all. And then don't forget, sleep hygiene, very important. Meditation, important. Keep your diet right. Don't tell yourself a negative story. Don't allow yourself to loop in defeat. Find people that can elevate you. Find people that will, in a very real, skills-based way, help you see the path forward and help you hold on to the only belief that matters, that you can figure this out.
If somebody's giving you advice about something that they have not done in their own life, then they have basically a 0 believability score. And somebody who has a 0 believability score shouldn't be pushing their idea like they know something. They should be asking a lot of questions. Now, when you're talking to somebody that's done it, Ray Dalio's saying is 3 times or more. If they've successfully done something 3 times or more, then they have believability in that area. So you want to find people that have believability, that really know what they're talking about, and then you should listen. You should ask a lot of questions. You should really come to understand it. If they haven't done that, they may still have amazing ideas, but what you need, because sometimes a novice has really fresh insights because they're just not stuck in the dogmatic ways of thinking that experts usually get into, but you need to be thinking about it differently. So rather than listening to their conclusions, you should be trying to understand their methodology. How did they get there? What is their process, their reasoning for making the statement that they're making? Now, if their reasoning is sound, then their conclusion may very well be worthwhile, but you have to understand their reasoning. So one of those two things. So either they are an expert in that area and thusly you should listen, or they are not, and you should only be thinking about what their process was to get to that conclusion, and then you have to be able to derive your own assessment as to whether or not you should listen to them. There's not going to be anything more empirical than that.
If you want to do something extraordinary, you have one job. Leave your fellow humans in awe. Now, when you think about, holy shit, my job as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, as a speaker, as a whatever you want to be, you've got to get so good at that thing that when people see you do it, you make them experience the most potent human emotion, and that is awe. To get that good is a terrifying journey of self-discovery and confronting who you really are. Because you cannot make change until you acknowledge where you're actually at. Now, why? Because it's not some new age woo thing. It is for real. Like, if you understand where you're weak, then you know where to spend your time building skills. To me, the gap between where you are now and where you want to go is a gap of skill set. And once I realized that, and I made the choice to believe that this whole brain plasticity thing was real, even though it was being hotly debated, then I could shift my self-esteem from being smart, right, good, worthy, to being that of the learner. The learner is the only identity that I have ever found that is anti-fragile. As Nassim Taleb says, things that are robust, that are strong, that are tough, that can take just a lot of abuse before they break, they are still ultimately defined by their breaking point. Something that is anti-fragile, on the other hand, is something that the more you attack it, the more it is pounded on, the stronger it gets. Now imagine being able to build a belief system, the thing that you build your self-esteem around. If all of that were tied to something that is truly anti-fragile, that the more somebody comes after it, the more robust it becomes. Being a learner is that answer.
We went through a whole debate about what is the next company going to be. And it was one of those where it had to be something that we cared about. You know, we had started this whole gyration of selling the technology company because I was so pissed and so tired of chasing money. And I wanted to do something that I believed in. I wanted to do something that mattered, that had impact. So the only reason that I was interested in getting into nutrition was because I felt that it could save the two people that I was most worried about in the world, and two, I thought that it could address what I saw as the greatest health crisis we face as a species, quite frankly.
What it's really going to take for you to get to that next level is to understand that the person that you are has gotten you as far as it's ever going to get you. So you've got to become a new person. You literally have to adapt. Now, the great news is, like we talked in my first talk, that is what humans are wired to do. Humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. The reason that we are the only species that you can find in every corner of the globe. At one point, James Cameron was literally at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. We have sent human beings to the moon. We are going to send human beings to Mars. And the reason we're going to be able to do that is we can adapt to our surroundings. There was a woman who swam the Bering Strait. Really think about this. The Bering Strait is the space between Russia and Alaska. So you can imagine it's not quite a swim in the Bahamas. To make the swim, she had to change her fat from what's known as white adipose tissue to brown fat. Brown fat is more thermogenic, so it actually kicks off heat. To do that, for over a year, she had to expose herself routinely to cold temperatures, sleeping in the winters in Alaska with the window open. But in doing that, she actually put her body through an adaptation response. Her body got the message, adapt or die, so it adapted. And when you're willing to put yourself under those kinds of stresses to become that new thing you want to become, to be the new person that you want to be, to go farther than anyone you know has ever gone, to be the GOAT, it is possible, but it demands a price. It demands a price. And what this weekend is about, it's about you deciding for yourself, where do you want to go? And what price are you willing to pay to get there? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. There's just clarity. There's just clarity. Don't judge yourself if you don't want to play on a world stage. Don't judge yourself if you're not willing to pay an extraordinary price. Just get the clarity of what you want and what you need to do to get there. When you do that, then you're going to be able to construct a narrative about who you are. And that narrative becomes everything.
Fulfillment is what matters. It is a neurochemistry state. The game that you're playing is not success, it is not money, it is not legacy, it is neurochemistry. It's feeling good about yourself right now, today, in this moment. Now, the absolute foundational building block to fulfillment is progress. Now, I don't mean progress in worldly pursuits. I mean humans are an active species that are absolutely designed to learn, adapt, and grow. We are the ultimate adaptation machine. Now, when nature wants us to do something, it incentivizes that thing with pleasure. So, if we're the ultimate adaptation machine designed to learn, grow, and get better, then it's going to make that process intensely pleasurable. Now, what it doesn't incentivize is the obsession over where other people are, whether or not we have unique ideas, whether or not we're valuable. None of that is going to bring you joy, okay? As they say, comparison is the thief of joy. So, hey, if you really want to with yourself, jump in the Instagram feed and look how other people are crushing it and obsess over that. If, on the other hand, you want to really have a deep and lasting sense of fulfillment, jump in the Instagram feed, find people that motivate and inspire you to be a better version of yourself, not to attain worldly success, but to actuate your potential, to ask yourself a very simple question: what is it that I am excited by? What am I motivated by? What jazzes me up, regardless of whether or not it jazzes anybody else up? And now I'm going to go get good at that thing. And that progress is the foundational building block of happiness.
I knew exactly what I wanted. I had my why. I had my goal, and it was very specific. And this is the thing about goals. They have to be incredibly specific. And my goal was to end metabolic disease. Not sell a lot of protein bars, that was not the goal. I wanted to end metabolic disease, and that informed every choice that we made as entrepreneurs. Every time that we had to answer a hard question, one that might impact profitability, or how late we were gonna have to work, or what we were gonna have to do, and it almost always was difficult, including, by the way, we had to become our own manufacturers, which we did not want to do. We wanted to outsource it. We just wanted to be marketers, but nobody would make the bar for us. Or they would, but they said that we had to add sugar to it. And we asked a simple question: will that help end metabolic disease, yes or no? If yes, we'll do it. If no, we won't. And it wouldn't, so we didn't. It starts with that specific goal. And then, because I had my why, my hands cramping closed in the face of doing something to save my mom and my sister, it was not a hard choice. In fact, I wouldn't have been able to look myself in the eye and say I was not able to help them because it was hurting my hands. Right? It sounds ridiculous when you say it like that, but most people don't have a personal tie to what they're doing. Mother Teresa has an amazing quote: no one will act for the many, but people will act for the one. And so as you guys go into your jobs and you think about what you're trying to do, find a way to stop making it a job. Find a way to make it a calling, a vocation, something that really meets that why, your desire to connect or do something great for people.
Motivation. You have to want it. It has to be something that you are on fire for. Literally, as you were describing it, I was like, oh my God, I would study so much. I would ace this exam. You have no idea. I would absolutely kill this. Because that's my identity. So why is it that you want to do this? Is it that you want to be the best? Is it just the promotion? If it's the promotion and this is just about money, what does that mean? Why does it matter? What are you going to do with the money? Are you the first person in your family to be promoted that far? Are you setting an example for your son or your daughter? Like when you attach it to something that really matters, like for me, it's like, I'm going to dominate. Wherever you put me, I'm going to dominate. That's just my thing. My identity is so wrapped up in outworking everybody else. I love it. So I love going hard, learning, putting more time and energy. My thing is part of my identity. You ready for the secret? Part of my identity is like, I will work so hard at something that people will just assume I'm naturally gifted at that thing, because the alternative to believe that I'm spending 40 hours a week on top of my full-time job to study for that thing, people, they won't believe that I would put that kind of energy and effort into something. But I will. And so to them, it just looks like magic. Now, I love that so much that it becomes very easy for me to use identity statements. Okay? So we've got motivation. We're getting amped about it. It matters to us for some reason. Now we've got identity statements. I'm the type of person that works so hard, people assume it's magic. I'm the type of person that works so hard at something that people just assume I'm naturally talented, okay? I love that. I love saying that about myself. I love knowing that it's true. I love knowing that I can trust myself to put in the time and the energy to own it, because I'm the type of person that knows information is really power. And that if I go in and I work and I get better at this thing, then I'm going to be able to outperform other people, right? Skills have utility.
This is one of the most common reframes ever. Worth, being good enough, being right, being smart. Guys, these are very fragile ways to think of yourself. And I understand the temptation because it feels really good when you do feel worthy. It feels really good when you are right. It feels really good to actually be the best at something. But the truth of the world, just the truth of the world, it is this way. You're always going to encounter somebody better, stronger, faster, more pious, more worthy, more whatever. So if you live in a world of comparison, it will rob you of your joy. Even people who, like Michael Jordan, if you put him right now up against most rookies, the rookie's gonna win. Rookie's younger, faster, hungrier. Michael's just lost a step, he's gotten old. So if he were trying to make his life about his glory in that period, let's say he lives 80 years. If he's living for the glory of 20 years, that's the most heartbreaking life I can imagine. So you're going to move in and out of these moments where you are a badass to where you're not a badass. Don't value yourself for that. Value yourself for something that is anti-fragile. Being smart, being right, being good, being worthy, they are very fragile things because sometimes you won't be. It simply is this way. Valuing yourself for being a learner, on the other hand, for trying, that's anti-fragile. Because the more somebody attacks you for being dumb, but you build your self-esteem around learning, the first thing I think when someone says I'm dumb is awesome. In what way? Because I view myself in these 10-year windows. And I know the same people that were laughing at me when I became an entrepreneur, knew nothing about it, and I was who's the kid in the server room, and I was the only one with an office that had no windows, and there were like 9 other computers in my room, and nobody knew who I was, and the only contribution I made to phone calls was to say goodbye at the end of a conference call. I'm not kidding. 10 years later, I own a $1 billion business. Woo! Who the is laughing now? But it only worked because I didn't mind looking stupid. It only worked because I wasn't asking myself whether I was worthy or whether I deserved it. I just asked myself, am I leaving it all out on the field? Yes or no? Am I learning? Yes or no? And if I'm not, I didn't go, oh, that makes me a bad person. I went, I need to change my actions to get a different result. And once you start thinking like that, and you literally value yourself for how hard you're trying, how much you're learning, how willing you are to accept when you fall on your face, so you don't try to get out from under it or campaign to convince people that you're better than you really are. Own where you're at. Because once you're real about it, then you can make progress. But if your energy cycles go to bullshit yourself, you'll never get out of it.
Humans are designed to adapt. We are the ultimate adaptation machine. We can learn anything we set our minds to. Now, you may not want to learn it, and that's good evidence that this is not a fascination that's going to turn into a passion. This is something that you should avoid. But if you can answer the question affirmatively that, do I want to know more about this than anyone else in the world? If the answer is yes, that's a path to go down. Because once you're saying yes to that, then you're going to go in and learn the things you need to do to become extraordinary. And if you're willing to put in the effort, while it may take you longer than somebody else, you will get there in the end if you keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Because the people that win are not the smartest. It is always the people that keep at it. It's the people that persevere. That's just truth, man. Now, being smart helps, yay. I really wish I was a lot smarter. But I know that I'll beat 99.999% of the people that play regardless of level of intelligence, because most people just drop out.
Once you have your goal, then you can work backwards to what you need to do in order to accomplish that goal. And that is the chasm of adaptation. It's the acquisition of skill set. It's getting better at something. It's becoming capable of something that you weren't capable of before. But that change, the fear of the unknown, is the thing that paralyzes people. So I want to go back to what I said earlier. You all meet minimum requirements. And I really mean that. I don't want you to wonder if somebody believes in you. I believe in you. I've seen a lot of people reach for the stars and fail. I've seen a lot of people reach for the stars and make it. I have a pretty good sense of what it takes for people to get there. So when I say that you guys meet minimum requirements, I really mean it. And I want that to liberate you. But what I want it to liberate you to do is to figure out why it's not enough. Because I didn't just change anyone's life with that phrase, but I should have. That should be all you need to know. But there are other things stuck in your perception of who you are, in the lens by which you view this world, that convinces you that you can't make it.
Remember that just 15 years earlier, I got out of bed solely out of shame. My mother thought I was going to fail. My father-in-law did not want me to marry his daughter. Brick by brick, day after day, I transformed myself. It was not an uncovering of something that was real and already there. It was simply acknowledging I am a hopelessly average human, but humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. So I can change. I can become whatever I want. And I just became single-mindedly focused on how much I could grow. And now that I was getting value and self-esteem out of growing instead of out of being, everything in my life changed. So 15 years later, my father-in-law visits the US for the first time since we started Quest. And I'm taking him around the production floor. And there's 300,000 square feet, there's 800 employees, the bars are coming off the line at 1.5 million a day. People are coming up and thanking me for having a job and for the way that we run the company and all that. And I turned to him and I said, Andreas, do you remember asking me how I was going to take care of your daughter? And he said, yes. And I said, how am I doing? And he just burst into tears. And the punchline of that story, it does not matter who you are today. The only thing that matters is who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there. We all come to a relationship with like expectations about how we think people should act. And unfortunately, we don't recognize our expectations as expectations. We recognize them as truth. This is how the world is. It is how the world should be. And when we think that they have those same beliefs and values and rules and all that. And so given this scenario, there's only one way to act that is certainly obvious. And so when the person doesn't act like that, we take it personally, like, whoa, do you not respect me? Do you not love me? Do you not care about me? And it just isn't that. They have a different set of beliefs and rules. There's enough nuanced difference that they're not, if they're intending to hurt you, you have a whole different set of problems. But assuming that they're not intending to hurt you, then you have a communication problem. So Lisa and I actually define our terms. So we have a few words in our marriage that they mean something. So if I say, hey, baby, it's important to me that you leave that, glass of water on the table, then she just wouldn't move it, period. Simple as. Like the word important like comes in all caps with exclamation points glowing red. Like that's like when we say it, like it's a drop whatever you're doing, like it's important that you do X, Y, or Z. Now the big thing is when you define a word like that, you can't ever abuse it. So like I would never say it's important to me that you leave it. It's gotta be just extraordinary. Like how many times do I tell her something's important in a year? I don't know, 6, 7 times in a year. Wow. So it's like, it's really gotta be limited. And then another one is promise. If I say, I promise I'm going to do that, dude, I'm going to do that. Like there's no two ways about it. So you never throw around promise ever under any circumstance. And so, dude, it's like you really, really have to be hardcore. And so, and the other way that we use promise is if she says, how does this dress look on me? I'm like, yeah, it looks great. And she's like, you promise? Then it's like, all right, it makes you look fat. What can I say? You know what I mean? It's like, but then you cut to like the chase on something. Now, the thing is, you can't say that all the time. You can't be like, how's this dress make me look? Fine, promise. What do you think of this dinner? You like it? Yeah, I love it, promise. Like if you're doing that, it loses everything.
Totally.
But if you're saving it for like, in fact, God, I almost don't remember the last time I asked Lisa to promise something like that. But you know that you haven't. We certainly use it more in the early days of our marriage. But even then, like how many times a year? 3 or 4? I mean, it's like, but it really forces you to respect these things that you make sacred in your relationship.
The man on top of the mountain didn't fall there. It's so tempting to look at people that have achieved the extraordinary and dismiss them as being more talented than you, better than you. But what you need to see is the simple truth. They've worked harder than you. They've earned something that you haven't yet earned. But here's the great news. That's empowering. Once you understand that they've just busted ass, once you understand that they've just put in an inhuman amount of work, and that the only thing that distinguishes the people that are on top of the mountain, the people that have really done something that's going to last, is that they put in the effort. They work on themselves. They understand that through discipline and effort over time, that we can get better. That is the human condition. That is the thing that I find most beautiful about being a person, is it doesn't matter if you're bad today. It doesn't matter where you start. It only matters where you're willing to go and the price that you're willing to pay to get there. And once you buckle down and you assure yourself and back it up with action that you're willing to pay any price to achieve the things that you want to achieve, then you'll really be living a limitless life.
For the person who's stuck, for the guy or gal who's in the cubicle, who hates their job, is in a dysfunctional relationship, is in debt, whatever the case may be, desperately wants a way out, a way forward, a lifeline. Where does that process begin for you? Like, what is the advice that you give that person?
So it begins with believing or acknowledging that humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. So the thing that has made us the apex predator is not that we're stronger. It's not even that we're smarter. In fact, the quote often attributed to Darwin is that, it's the survival of the fittest. He actually didn't say that. What he did say was, it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but rather the most adaptive to change. Now, the reason that humans are the apex of all apexes is because we are the most adaptive species to change. So if you know that, then it becomes infinitely less important who you are today. And what matters is, who do you want to become?
and what price, and the price being the time and energy that you're going to put into acquiring the skills to become that person. So imagine the person that you want to be, how would they act? And then start acting like that. If the person that you want to be would leave their job and, regardless of whether they had a safety net, burn the ships and go after something new, then that's what you should do. If the person that you want to be would start working nights and weekends because they very much value having a stable income that they can provide for their family or themselves, whatever, but are going to be disciplined and spend nights and weekends to get the skill set to go be more valuable somewhere else or to start their own company, whatever, then do that.
Elon Musk talks about, in his business, it's all about breaking things down to the physics. If you sell to people, the physics in your world is psychology and understanding what motivates them. So your company needs to have a why. And if you know Simon Sinek and his brilliant book, Start With Why, you'll know what we're talking about, the golden circle. Most people know what they do. They may even know how they do it, but they oftentimes don't know why they do it. Why did we launch Quest Nutrition? Because we wanted to end metabolic disease. Now, nobody knew that from looking at a protein bar, but our marketing material was about that. We didn't do features and benefits. We said, stop sacrificing. We said, you should hold food companies to a new standard. It's ridiculous that food companies aren't engineering new equipment to make food that's both good for you and delicious. It's just ridiculous. Nobody's held their feet to the fire. People have been buying the same junk products for years. They're not going to change unless you force them to. And so we came along and said, we're going to be the bearer of standards. We know why we're doing what we're doing. So I can't release a product that has sugar in it. Why? Because that's not going to end metabolic disease, and that is my driver. I show up to work every day not thinking about making it rain and counting my money. I'm not swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck. I'm coming every day thinking about two people, my mom and my sister. And I ask a very simple question. Is this advantageous for my mom and my sister? Yes or no? If it is, I do it. If it's not, I don't. Now, a lot of times, what's advantageous for my mom and my sister was really expensive. It was super annoying to have to do it because it was like you watch your profit margins like, oh God. But it becomes an easy filter, and every business has to have a filter. Every business needs to know what they say yes to and what they say no to. And if you don't have that blinding guiding light, when you scale, you will fall apart. And the reason you will fall apart, your customers won't know who you are. They won't know how to communicate your message to somebody else. Your employees won't know who you are. They won't know what to communicate to each other, let alone the outside world. So it has got to be blinding. You have to be able to write it down. It has to be super clear. It's got to be direct, and it's got to be meaningful. And it has to be real. It's got to actually be something that drives you.
What we all have to understand is at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is how good is your product. Whether you're trying to build a company or you're trying to be a kick-ass employee or you're trying to be the best parent of all time, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is getting good. The only thing that matters is actually delivering an extraordinary performance. Until you get to that point where you can actually knock it out of the park, until you get to the point where you can captivate people with what you're able to do, you haven't gotten anywhere. If you want to be great, if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to be remembered, you've got to focus on the acquisition of skills. You have to focus on actually getting good. That's the only thing that's really going to capture people's imagination.
Now you've had, like I have, you've had extraordinary people sitting across from you. I've been blessed to have you sit across from me today. And I'm curious if there was a common denominator between all of these people, or what have you learned that surprised you in doing the show so far?
The thing that's really surprised me is that it is so consistent. What has made them all successful and their ability to articulate it. They use different words. Some people come at it from different angles. Everybody has something fresh. I heard a quote one time, and it so terrifies me. This, in fact, over a long enough time period, people are going to hear this quote from me so many times because seriously, man, I'm not joking. This scares me.
Wow.
And it scares me enough that it has a daily place in my life. And that is, genius is a young man's game. And when I heard that quote, I thought, whoa, the one thing that all of us touch for the briefest of moments is youth. And if you're lucky, what you'll get is a whole lot of middle age and then some old age, but you don't get a lot of youth. And so I just thought, ooh, that's really scary. And they were basing it on the number of people that win Nobel Prizes. It's almost always for work they did in their 20s and 30s, almost always. And I thought, oh, I don't like that. And so looking at why that, and the reason, I guess this is important to say, the reason that I didn't like it was I felt that my youth was really whipping by and I hadn't accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish. So if my youth is whooshing by me, how do I make sure that I can access genius at any time? Genius shorthand for like playing at the absolute best of your game and really changing things, like really having an impact. And this is one thing I think you and I share, like no bullshit. I want to have impact on the world. So if I just wanted to be rich, Lisa and I would have bought an island and retired, years ago. So clearly there's something more that's motivating me, and that thing is impact and really touching lives. So it's like wanting to be able to do that. I don't want to say, well, I had this brief window in my youth and I either did or didn't make use of it. But even if I did, I don't want the rest of my life to be looking back on that. So another quote that drives me, your future should always be bigger than your past. So, all right, you've got genius is a young man's game and a personal belief of mine that you should always be looking towards doing something more than you've ever done. And so you put those two together and I just knew I had to solve for that problem. And the only solution that I have for it is switching things up, like you said, to live at the edges. And the same book was talking about the people that do end up getting either multiple Nobel Prizes or prizes for work they did later, is it's people that would routinely change so that they would have these two overlapping areas. So like chemistry and physics, and like where those two meet, like there's new discoveries and new ways to challenge your own thinking. And so always staying fresh, always challenging my own thinking, always looking at how am I wrong? Most people go into an endeavor with the confirmation bias. In fact, you just brought that up. So it's like, I'm so aware that by nature, like everybody, I just want to be told how right I am, how amazing the way that I'm thinking is. And because it feels good, right? That feels awesome.
What makes you happy?
The easy answer and the most truthful answer is time with my wife. The other answer to what makes me happy, there's really two things. So time with my wife, and then the pursuit, which I'll put in all caps, right?
Yep.
So the pursuit of whatever, the pursuit of getting better, the pursuit of impacting the world, the pursuit of building something big that matters. The pursuit, maybe I never get it. I don't care about that. I care about the pursuit. I care about whether sincerely I'm actually trying to make it happen. Not bullshit.
Yeah.
Not just like empty dreams, but like for real, I'm actually giving myself over to this. And I've spent a lot of time in the inner cities. I big brothered for this one kid for 8.5 years, completely changed my life. And then having 1,400 employees and about 1,000 of which grew up hard in the inner cities. Hard, I mean, most of them grew up in Compton. I mean, it was just some of the most extraordinary stories I've ever heard. And I realized that those people are as extraordinary as anybody. Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, like all those same raw materials exist in people in the inner cities that nobody believes in, nobody think will ever go anywhere. And they won't because they don't believe in themselves. And so we were talking at our most honest, like what are we really driven by? And I'm driven by that moment of awakening, which I had in my own life where I finally realized, wait, I can learn new things. So just because I'm not good today doesn't mean I can't be good tomorrow. And that filled me with so much excitement. I want to see that in other people. And I want to see what the world looks like when other people realize, wait a second, that Steve Jobs quote that the world is made by people no smarter than you is actually true. Yeah. And so if you're believing that these people are smarter than you because you did bad on your SATs, I'm just going to tell you right now, stop. So you can develop yourself. So my obsession became that humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. We are literally wired from the ground up in order to grow and improve under stress and pressure. So it's like, what's the phrase? Pressure can burst pipes, but it also creates diamonds. Yes. So it's like, you need the pressure. And yes, it can hurt, but it can also make something amazing if you're willing to put yourself in that situation. So it's a weird twist of fate that humans, in order to build the muscle, you first have to tear it, right?
Yes.
So, but once you accept that that's how it works, you can do extraordinary things. I am not a born entrepreneur. Now, there are many people that consider themselves a born entrepreneur. I am not one of them. I know that there were kids out there that had lemonade stands when they were like 6 months old. They couldn't hold their head up, but they could sell. That was not me. I was totally retarded when it came to stuff like that. I had a paper route, and they gave your money in two ways. One, they just gave you sort of a blanket weekly payment for delivering the paper, but then the other part of it was you were supposed to go collect that money. And I was too afraid to knock on the doors to collect the money, so I never got that part, but I felt so obligated that I said I would do it that I kept delivering the papers essentially for free. So that's where I started as an entrepreneur. My parents' biggest frustration was that I was epically lazy, and if they handed out gold medals for being lazy, I would have won, I assure you, hands down. There was a period in my life where I would spend between 2 and 3 hours in bed because it was warm in bed and it was cold out of bed. All right? That's true. I actually did an interview with Jocko Willink, if you guys know him, Extreme Ownership. His book totally blew me away. And in the middle of the interview, I confessed that. And he said, Tom, don't worry, we'll let you edit that out. And I said, Jocko, I actually don't want to edit that out because right now the narrative about what it means to be an entrepreneur is to be naturally gifted. And I call total bullshit on that. Because I'm not naturally gifted. I don't have any natural talents. And all of us are born as this lump of jelly that can't hold its own head up, that poos in its pants, and we all learn to do things. And it's that ability to specialize that makes us great. And the things that you choose to put your time and energy into, those are going to be the things that allow you to accomplish something. But all of that is a choice.
You talk a little bit about seeking power.
Yeah.
And it confused me when I first heard it. I'm not sure I even liked how you said it at first until I understood it. And so can you talk to everybody about seeking power and what that means?
Yeah, this is another one of those things that internally for me, it's such a beautiful concept that I was so surprised the first time I said it out loud and somebody was like, oh, that's gross. And I was like, okay, I need to explain this then.
Yes.
So to me, power is the ability to close your eyes, imagine a world, a beautiful world, the world that you want to exist, open your eyes, and then be able to actually make that world come true. And so when I say I'm seeking power, I'm saying I'm seeking the skills that will allow me to make the world a better place. It will, whether that's to be able to connect with people and build a team and get other people excited, whether that's to be able to build a business that generates enough funds to improve the lives of the employees and the people that we touch with great products. You know, whatever that is, like to be willing and excited by the thought of going out and getting those skills, because those skills really are powerful. And to me, it's like people misunderstand power the way they misunderstand money.
Any moment, you can choose to believe something new about yourself. Now, the weird thing about belief is as soon as you change that belief, it becomes true. Why that is, I will never quite understand. What weird quirk of human evolution has left us in a space where simply believing it makes it true? If you think you're dumb, guess what? You're dumb. Truly. And you will act in accordance with that belief, and that should scare the shit out of you, because it scared the life out of me. And I saw myself heading down a path that I did not want to be on because I believed that I was dumb. I had a fixed mindset. I used to only apply for jobs where I knew I'd be smarter than the person interviewing me because I did not want to feel badly about myself. But you can imagine the types of jobs that I got. I once lovingly referred to myself as the king of remedial jobs. And I actually had pride in that, because what I built my sense of pride around was getting the job, was always being smart, was being right, and none of those things were moving me towards my goals. Now, if you don't know this quote, live by it. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery over oneself. That's Da Vinci. Da Vinci did amazing things with his life. I wanted to do equally amazing things with mine. And if that's the game that we're playing, if I can construct my belief system, if I can choose at any moment to believe something that's more empowering than I was believing the moment before, and that will actually find its way into my actions, allow me to do things that I couldn't do the moment before, then it's like that moment in The Matrix where Neo realizes he knows Kung Fu. And that's like, as funny as that is, that's how I think about life. To me, the very fundamental purpose of life is to find out how many skills I can acquire that have utility, and then put that utility to the test in service of something greater than myself.
I used to say to myself all the time, you're gonna get rich or you're gonna die trying. And so, starting as a copywriter, I started busting my ass. Step number 1, I convinced my wife, we're going to, because there were 2 other partners that hired me, I'm gonna pick an apartment that's no more than 5 minutes from either of them. That way, if they call me at 2 in the morning, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and they're gonna know no one else in their company is as serious as me.
and I'm gonna claw my way up this company, and I'm gonna get whatever job I become the right person for, and I'm gonna work my way up. And by the time we ended up selling that company, I had clawed my way through sweat equity into owning 10% of the company and being the chief marketing officer, from starting as the copywriter. The person that everybody asked, who's the kid in the server room, was the only person that didn't have a window. They literally put me in the room with all the computer servers. But starting from there, I knew I could wow people because I was willing to grind it out. And that is one of the most valuable things that anybody can do.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag Believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Tom Bilyeu, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Where do you think all success starts with?
Well, the fast answer is mindset. Going back to the only belief that matters, you said it. It's the way you act is ultimately all that matters.